Hi everyone, thank you for joining. We'll start in a couple of minutes. Hi everyone, thank you. Hi dear all, thank you for joining today's session. I'm Nishani, Executive Director of IIT Madras Alumni Association. And today we're so excited, we're launching something new. It's been a topic of interest and I'm sure all the young parents are really looking forward to this. Today we have our launch of the parenting workshop for our alumni. And this initiative is anchored by our Vice President, Jeyappria Dhevi. Jeyappria Dhevi is an experienced educationalist with a demonstrated history of working in the education management industry and mindfulness-based parenting coach. She will be joined today by also Abhimanyu Deshpande, our Pune chapter chair, a parent of a 3-year-old daughter. He will also discuss and share his views on parenting along with Ms. Jeyappria. Jeyappria, over to you. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you very much. Welcome all of you for this fantastic program. I'm so psyched to launch this with IITMAA because this is one area which I've been working and focusing hard for the last 15 years, probably ever since I ventured into education field. The one weak link in the whole academic cycle is the relationship which a parent and a child has, and that not being considered in or factored in while we are looking at all the skill sets which we are trying to develop for children. So this being the case, we wanted to actually focus on this, and we've done enormous amount of research and been working on this. And also, whenever I get a chance to interact with parents of young children, I kind of ask them, what is the one thing which generally bothers you the most? And the one thing which even when I was a young parent versus right now as well, that has not changed at all. That hasn't moved even a bit. I mean, the work-life balance or parenting and work balance, as I would like to more specifically narrow it down to, has become a lot more complicated than what it used to be earlier. And in the last 3 years, we have noticed that there has been tremendous amount of change in terms of working style and parenting style as well, which enormously affects a child's psyche, behavior, and all that. So this whole program, we want to continuously run this with various important topics, exciting topics, and engage parents, make you all understand as well on what are the essential facets. We all are here, we are all a very different breed when compared to so many other parents. When we look at them, there's like a lot of things which we try to consider while we are taking any decision, even if it is going to be a schooling decision, or if it is going to be what kind of a toy to buy. So many things. I found that from IITMAA, when we go as a IIT alum, we do a lot more decision making, thought process on the decision, rather than just simply going and buying first thing which captures our eyes, right? So I thought the series itself would help ideate and help you also create a very quick decision framework on how you can achieve the maximum out of whatever is actually available with you in terms of time, or in terms of understanding of your children and all that. Okay, let me not go too technical into it. If you want anything more technical, you can always ping me. I'm available on chat or WhatsApp or LinkedIn, anywhere. But let me walk you through the challenges which generally we pursue during this work and parenting issues. Many of you would have moved from work from home to office. And that change after 2 years is a very different kind of a change. I mean, there's a lot of things which we wouldn't have accounted for, or would have become very different from what it used to be 2 years back, right? So with the show of hands, how many of you here kind of believe that there's this kind of a change which has happened, which you perceive is happening right now, but then you need some more support in terms of understanding this better. And you can just raise your hand on this itself. Abhimanyu, yes, of course, and anybody else also, if you have any this kind of an issue on how can we manage our time better in terms of in terms of providing time for the for not just the family but for parenting. So if you look at the whole family ecosystem itself, parenting is a very small niche which we generally feel like it all is a part and parcel of family time. But then parenting has to be given a very exclusive time away from family, away from all the other aspects which you have in your life. And that's very important. And I'll talk a little bit about it before I go on a chat with Abhimanyu and discuss on why this is important and how you can actually make things better with very less time available with you. So I said 3 tips to make things better, and it's actually a lot more than that. So it was a trick thing, which I lured you in here with. So let me start with this kind of a scenario. Have you ever encountered a scenario like this where you are busy on your work, and then your children are around you, you know that you have to give time to them, but then you have to finish this task before you go to that and go to your children? How many of you have been torn between these 2 scenarios, at least in the last 1 month or so? Just a show of hands, raise your hands on chat itself, that will be good. Or you can say yes on chat also, that's good. Yes. So I feel you. That's something which always happens even right now with all of us. There would be something which will demand our attention with our children, but then we generally end up doing our work, which for which we generally give them most priority. Why do you think we do this? Why do you think we have this a focus on our work before we go into our children? And do you think this is the right thing to do, or are you always torn between like oh, I wish I could go and take care, but I have to finish this, so I'm neither here nor there, kind of a Trishanku scenario? So have you ever always felt that way? So this is something which is on an everyday basis, you kind of curse yourself. Yeah, Arun. So you kind of curse yourself that this is the scenario I'm always facing and all that. Another thing is, every day I've got lots of parents telling me that tomorrow onwards, we are not going to have our devices on our dinner table or our dining table. So we are going to have a screen-free dinner time or a lunch time. At least one meal we'll have that. They keep promising that but then that never happens. Many a times we find that parents actually say that they want to have a screen-free time during at least the food time, but then that never happens. And predominantly for 1 or 2 days that happens, and then 3rd day they go get their devices, and then they end up having each one having their own phones or laptops and all that. Have you ever found that happening in your household in the last 1 week or so? Like some work email or something, some forwards you're looking at, and you're eating, and your children are also eating, at least for even a 5 minute, and then, oh, I'm at dinner table, I have to keep my phone down. So that kicks in your mind, and then you keep your phone down, and then you go on to the conversation or to engage your children. And okay, fine, so what happened today in your house, in your school? So that kind of okay, all right. So that actually is a kind of a thing which generally, as parents, we also sometimes feel that, we don't follow through with whatever we put in as our a strict mandate or strict discipline which we want to bring in our household. So these are 2 things which I'm going to be focusing on a lot, because we don't have much time. We want to give the maximum in whatever is the time available, and we will continue this conversation. We will find other ways and modes in which we will continue this conversation with all of you. So here it is. So as parents, we have a lot of responsibilities, and we know that, we are working towards our families' welfare, benefit and all. But then at the end of the day, it so happens that, we are not able to carry on with the commitment which we've given to ourselves and our families, especially to our children. And we feel guilty about it. And that one thing, that guilt factor is something which I wanted to address for a long time. And that is why today's session all about is like this. Today's session, I wanted to ensure that you don't have that guilt in you when you're carrying on with your work, and how you can not have that guilt. So these two questions I'm going to be addressing today. So these things are happening. While these things are happening, there's one thing which I wanted to ask you all. I know you wouldn't have had time to probably take the questionnaire which I had given. Who are you as a parent? Like, what is your parenting style? So that actually determines or goes a long way in identifying how you manage a certain scenario. So you have your work which is cut out. You have to have certain tasks completed by end of the day, and you have your home, irrespective of how many number of people, there is a quality and quantity which is to be provided for your children, and that is also kind of non-negotiable. So between these two, how you handle that is predominantly based on what kind of a parenting style you have. And by extension, but if you extrapolate from here, it also goes into your own personality as well. So let me go ahead with asking Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu, you had this one query. So you said your question came out as authoritarian or authoritative parent, right?
Yeah, JP. I mean, that's where I took the questionnaire in the afternoon, and it turned out to be authoritative, which was a little surprise for me, of course. I mean, like, because
okay, go by the word. Yeah,
it goes by. If I go by the word, I don't seem coming like an authoritative over my child. But when I actually look at it again, maybe I may be authoritative when it comes to Renuka. Renuka is my 3-year-old daughter, so that happens. And then I believe sometimes, and I have sometimes you have to be, because they don't understand what they're doing and what are the consequences. So you have to be authoritative, telling them that, okay, no, this is not good. You have to follow what I'm telling you. But then one of the question is when and how I change, my styles. That's where one of my question based on the parenting style comes from. And so rather, I would also like to understand more of the term authoritative. What it means in case of parenting.
Yes. So, okay. So that's actually fantastic, because, the word authoritative kind of throws off people, and they start thinking, am I authoritative? I'm not being that, the same query many of them have. So give you a little bit of history here. So this theory is like 40 plus years old and all that. And Dr. Baumrind, when she actually created this 4 styles of parenting, this 4 styles of parenting holds water even till now. And there are several other versions of this which has been created. But if you go back to the basics, then these are the 4 styles of parenting which are there. So to give you a very, very small input on this, as people who we are all used to systems thinking, we generally put this in x-axis and y-axis. So x-axis being how much of freedom we give to the children, and how much of follow through we go and do with them. To the other thing is how much of control we have on them. So this control and freedom are like 2 opposite things, right? So when you have the right amount of control and right amount of freedom given to children, then that becomes the right kind of parenting. And also the parenting style will keep on evolving as the child grows up. When your child is like about a year, 2 years old and all, you need to have complete control of their life, because of course they don't know much about what kind of food they're going to eat, what kind of things they want, and how they want to go about doing and all that, right? So they need a lot of guidance at that time. But then predominantly between the ages 2 to 7, which is their formative age, and 95% of their brain growth happens. At that time, they need a lot of freedom, but with certain amount of control in certain areas. So this balance is what, striking this balance is what makes you one of these 4. So after 7, so this is like the preoperative stage. After 7 to till about 13, which is the preteen stage, it's a completely different kind of a phase. That's a phase when their basic mental model of the world is formed, and now they are experimenting with so many other things around them to make things concrete in terms of whatever they have learned, putting that into practice in real world. And after that, after 13 till about 18 is a completely different kind of a thing. There is a lot more parameters which are involved in bringing up a child, and a lot more amount of freedom which has to be given with the right amount of control, that the matrix itself takes a very different turn when it comes to dealing with teens. So let's consider this 2 to 12 age group, which is the most promising age, where you have a lot of things going on in their life, and you have to be there with them for every decision making of theirs. So consider if you are a parent who is like, giving them too much permission to do anything they want. You say, hey, you don't do your homework, there is no screen time for you. And then the child comes and says, mama, please, papa, please, this one time for 5 minutes extra, and then you give in. So you give in how many times you give in, or you just give in and then say, okay, fine, just go ahead. But tomorrow you are not going to do this. But then that tomorrow never comes, right? So this is what is permissive parenting. So here the control is extremely less, freedom is extremely high. So this is permissive parenting. And I'm giving you a very high level overview of this. Second is the opposite of that, like, completely controlling how their time is being spent, their whatever is the choice which they are making in terms of the after schools, the toys, and the friends which they make, doing what you say, exactly following what you say, and all that. Very less freedom and lots of control. So that ratio actually makes up for the opposite of it, which is the authoritarian. So authoritarian is that, and permissive is this. Then there is one more sector where, there is zero control or very less control, and very huge amount of freedom as well, as in, like, you just don't care about what they do. There is no involvement. Okay, fine, they did whatever they did, I don't care about it, kind of a thing. And you just say that, okay, I'm going to do this, you do whatever you want to. It's not like you don't care about it. It's just that, you don't have time to ensure that they are doing everything as you want to. So that is uninvolved parenting. So of all those things, authoritative is actually the best. As in, authoritative means you have the right amount of control, you have the right amount of freedom given to the child, and while you are discussing also, you discuss the consequences of whatever is going to happen with the decisions which they make. So if you go to a toy shop, and that's actually my favorite hangout spot, I see different types of parents over there. So the parents, there will be some set of parents who will, give the card to the child and say, buy whatever you want to, and they'll be sipping a Starbucks coffee outside, and these children will buy whatever they want to, and then they'll come, and then these parents will go off. That's all. So this is also one type of parenting, and which is like, uninvolved parenting. The other is authoritarian parenting, where they say, the child says, I want to buy a race car, and then the parent says, no, you buy a science kit. So this is like, forcing their thought on the child. And then the other is permissive parenting. The parent wants to buy science kit, the child wants this, and the child keeps on changing their mind. Okay, I want this, and then I want that also, I want that. There should be some control. You can have like 1 or 2 toys, not more than that, or give a budget and not more than that. They put up a budget and say not more than 1,000 rupees. Then the child comes up with some 5,000 rupee toy, and they say, okay, fine, this one time I'll buy for you, not next time. But then that next time, we know, never comes, right? So this is what is permissive parenting in terms of a scenario like a toy store. You can extrapolate this to any kind of a setup which you want to. You will know food. It could be food. It could be dressing. It could be going out. Going for a party, any kind of a scenario. This is what happens. And an authoritative parent would talk about the consequences. Say that, hey, I'm giving you 1,000 rupees. You can choose whatever you want to, but within that amount, and see if that same toy is not already available in our house, so that you're not repeating the same thing just because you like that one type of toy. You could probably experiment with something else. So there is a conversation happening around the toy choosing itself. So this is what is the 4 styles of parenting, as we see. And this is something which is very important for parents to understand as well. So there is one question which comes up time and again whenever I give such workshops, is that we didn't grow up with our parents knowing what parenting style they had. So we did turn out to be good. So why should we do all those things, right? So this question, I think many of you also might be having when I talk about this parenting styles, and you might be, oh my God, this is too much work. Why should I think about all those things? Because the world has changed a lot, and more so in the last 4 or 5 years, with the advent of so much of technology in our life, our children's schools having so much of technology in them, and also predominantly more of our life is controlled with a different setup itself. I mean, we do not have the same kind of environment in which we grew up. So if you look at your home, compare your home with what your home used to be when you were a child. So if you have a 3-year-old, just imagine how your house was when you were a 3-year-old. What did your parents do? What kind of a lifestyle they had versus you have? And how is it fair for your child to have the same parenting style compared to what you had back then? Because that's totally different. Maybe it was relevant for that era. But then right now, parents are investing more and more time and also trying to get themselves more aware of what is the type of, what they could do the best to ensure they can get their children to be future ready. Because believe me, whatever is the job or the titles which we hold right now, 10, 20 years from now, 15 years from now, that's not even going to exist. It's going to be completely different. And so is the case with what used to be, except for maybe government jobs. Everywhere else, I think the titles and the jobs, the profiles itself have changed. Earlier, even just to give you one example, earlier it was only like sales and marketing, and then now marketing has become different, sales has become different. And in marketing itself, there is performance marketing, growth marketing, and there is like analytics behind that. So many things have become different. And constantly we are upgrading ourselves, skilling ourselves upwards to make sure that we stay relevant. So it is only relevant that we skill ourselves in parenting as well, so that we are relevant for our children to grow up into future ready citizens. So that is why this parenting styles is something which is important. So again, when you look at your work and your, your work life and your parenting, these two are very distinct areas. And it is very important that, you spend like that amount of time in understanding your child better. So what are the things you think you understand with your child and you do not understand with your child? So that's one thing which I wanted to ask you as well, Abhimanyu. Like, is there some field you feel like, okay, if only I could know this better about my child?
So there are times when I really don't know. See, sometimes what happens is I have a hybrid work style. I mean, like sometimes I go to office, sometimes I stay back, and when I stay back, she knows that I'm sitting in that room, okay, and she wants to come and talk something or do something, and I'm in the meeting or I'm doing something. I cannot do that thing, and she starts behaving cranky. Now I want to understand in a better way that is it just her, kind of she just wants to get in, see me and go away, or is there anything real need that I need to be there, and what is the real need and what is just a mischief or something like that. I mean, like that's where sometimes my dilemma lies. See, with hybrid work life, there comes a flexibility that I can stop some my work and attend my child as well. But how I can balance that out, because I don't want to just whenever she calls me, I have to be there. That's not the case, right? Because I may not be doing that in the next year. My office may start full-fledged, and I have to be there 100% of time. So that's where I want to understand what are the scenarios where the need is real need that I have to attend her, and what are the times that I may I can just be there for 2 minutes and come back and start working again. So that's precisely where my dilemma and guilt lies. When you say guilt, sometimes I feel, okay, no, just go away and do whatever you want to, or be with my mom is there, so she can play with her. But then later on I still feel that, okay, did I do right thing? She wanted to talk to me and I'm not there. Yeah, that's the dilemma I'm always in, actually.
Cool. Yeah. Before I go on to answer your query, Abhimanyu, anybody else have any other query like this, particularly which you face while you're working, you're thinking about your parenting needs, which has to be addressed, or there are certain things which you feel you're missing out because of your work? You could put that up in the chat. I'd be glad to answer that. So, yeah, so this is something which is very essential for everybody to kind of understand as well, right? I mean, I know that as a parent, we want to be 100% with our children, but then, our work actually demands us that we spend more time with the work and all that. And especially with the hybrid scenario, the situation which you said is something which everybody faces. So the thing which we generally do, well, we work with parents, is we kind of map their timing, and with Google Calendar and all, it is kind of easier for us to map it as well. We map their timing, and we tell them that, hey, this is the time when I will be with my child. So it could be even between your work hours and all that, but you could map that, block that half an hour out, or something like that, which will be not a food time or sleeping time or something for your child, but the playing time. And also talk to your child about the consequences of not being able to attend to your child during the meeting hours and all that. For a 3-year-old especially, it is very difficult to explain the consequences and all that. So generally what we do is we make up the scenarios such that it is like a role playing and all that. You get your child to sit in your place and then do some work, take a meeting, get somebody else to have a meeting with your child who's your like cousin or colleague and all that. And you could then ask permission and then come and disturb. At that time, what does your child do? So you can then have a conversation at that time and say that, this is something which you are talking to somebody, or their own friend also talking to somebody, and if I come and disturb, then you don't like, right? I mean, so that is how it is for us as well. So when you explain that in a way that a 3-year-old can understand, very, very simply, very easily for them to, put themselves in that shoe. And trust me, it is not easy for a 3-year-old. Up to like 5 years, they won't be able to empathize with another person's situation. They're built that way. So if you put them in that kind of a scenario, you talk to them, and then come up with some sort of a signals, like saying that, put up a sticker or something. A frowny face means, you can't enter the room. Smiley face means, yes, you can. I'm just working, you can probably enter. So you see frowny face, and then the sticker means no zone. If it is a smiley face, you can come inside. Some things like that. And that can actually, it is a practice, but when you bring that practice up, you tell your child again and again that, this is what, this is how we will spend time. And then after that time is done, promise your child that, okay, after this is done, there is a game which we will play. And then make sure that you spend that half an hour playing that game. Then what happens is your child also starts developing the trust in you. And understands that I know Baba is actually in work, and after this we are going to be playing that game. And once you're out and then you play that game and you constantly make the child believe that, when I promise something that this is going to happen, this happens, then over a period of time, your child will actually start respecting that time and all that, because this is not going to get over right away. I mean, even after you go back to office and all that, you will be carrying back some work, carrying back some client calls and all that. And so this practice will actually help your child to get attuned to your working at home scenario as well. Come what may ever, we might not be able to leave our work at office and come back. So this I also, I mean, I've had this kind of a scenarios earlier, and this had actually worked with my child, and she was really young. And this is something which you could do as well. I can just create a small write-up for this and have that shared with everybody. So
that helps actually.
You've done this?
No. I mean, like now I can see. Okay. This might be a helpful thing because she understands signals, or she understands the pictures right now. So that might help a lot.
Just a simple smiley face, frowny face kind of a thing. You put it in a
exactly.
Post-it note and then stick it up on the door and say that that frowny face don't come inside or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I have Mani Megalai asking here, having tough time and feeling hurt when my kid talks back or refuses to do the small household chores also. Okay, your kid is 16 years old. Okay, I'll come to 16 in a short while, Mani Megalai. So this is up to ages 5. But after 5 to 10, there is another thing which as a parent I would want you all to probably do. But before that, I would want to give you a small primer on how you can know your child better. A small thing, like one is, have your children reached their milestones? So there are like 4 different milestones, developmental milestones, which are there. The physical milestones, cognitive milestones, communicative milestones, socio-emotional milestones. These are common milestones. If anybody wants, I would be happy to share those milestones, age-wise milestones. It's again available on CDC websites also. So understand what milestone your child has reached, and see if it aligns with actual milestones which they have to reach. Is there any gap in that? Because that's one of the red flags which you have to know. Sometimes the children will be like physically active and all that, but certain cognitive milestones might not have been reached, might be slightly delayed. There is no need for alarm over there, but that means that is the area where you have to start focusing on. So that's one of the things which you have to bear in mind while you're going ahead with positive parenting and all that. Second is, there are several types of interests which your children will have. There are in right now, I mean, there are 8 different skill levels, skills sets which are there based on Professor Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences theory. There are 8 different types of intelligences which children have. 2 or maximum 3 of which will be dominant, and then the remaining are dormant. So to give you an example, the same Toy Story example which I had been talking about, if you feel like your child is actually wanting some musical instruments, again and again going for the same type of toys, but you want your child to go to STEM kit and or some maybe books, how do you ensure or encourage your child to go towards that? So it's not like you have to always buy only the toys which your child wants, but probably incorporate music in all the other aspects where you want your child to develop as well. But before that, you have to very keenly understand their interest. What is their interest area? What is it that they exhibit as an interest in their everyday activities and all that? So that is one of the things which you need to do. And third is, what is the kind of behavior your child has? Predominantly, there are 4 different behavior in children. So knowing the behavior itself, I can actually have as a separate workshop also. One is, the child being very shy and not being participative. Second is, extremely hyper and talking back a lot or throwing tantrums a lot. Third is being extremely mischievous and all that. And fourth is a well-managed type. So this again is a very well-researched framework which is available. Based on this, understanding what behavior your child has and what is your parenting style, when you match it, you'll be able to arrive at the best way in which you can deal with every scenario. But even if you do not know this, what I would always say is just take one step back and see what is the situation like. So because whenever we are impulsive, we go on to talk something about the child rather than the situation. It happens in every situation. So when it actually entails your children, I want you to take like one step back, look very keenly into the situation which has arisen because of this, and then ensure that that actually doesn't happen again by talking with your child, ideating with your child on how you cannot have that kind of a situation again. So this actually is very important when it comes to work life, work and parenting, balancing between work and parenting. Especially, when your children are wanting your attention a lot, when your children are suddenly throwing tantrums, especially when you're having a call or something like that, or producing loud noises, or going and disturbing somebody elder in the house just when you're getting into a meeting and all that, it means that it is not that they want to do that. It means there is a, you take one step back and look at the timings when this happened, or the triggers when this happened. You'll know that they are seeking your attention rather than actually going and disturbing your family members or something. So why is this attention seeking behavior happening? Is this because the children doesn't have enough attention, or is what kind of an attention your child has? So that is something which you will have to probably understand as well. So generally, these are some of the areas or timings when we generally have, there are some times when you can do certain things together to achieve a certain common goal. And there are certain times when, you can do certain things with your children, but it is like not related to any of this. So these are two different types of activities which you could do. So before that, what you could probably start doing is, put together a complete list of all the activities you do in a day. Maybe in a day, as soon as you start a day, just have a small piece of paper and write down the timings when you are interacting with your child in one way or the other. It could be for waking up your child, or brushing their teeth, or to get them to eat food, or to ask them to go and do certain work or something like that, or to actually sit and talk with them, to tell a story, or whatever it could be. Any of those things which you're doing, just map it out for like 3 or 4 days. You will start understanding that there is a lot of scope where you could do things in a much different manner than what you're currently doing. So some of the times when you have time to interact with your child, but you can do things in a much different way is usual food time, any of the morning routines which you are a part of, bedtime, what do you do, what is your bedtime ritual, and grocery shopping. So these are like some of the things which generally you can map out and do. And apart from all those things, apart from the routines, have an exclusive 10-minute ritual with your child at a certain appointed time, like say 6 p.m. or 7 p.m., something like that. Have that 10-minute ritual where you will only focus on your child and nothing more. And you will start interacting with your child in a manner that you understand them on a deeper level than just, get the day through. So this actually, over a period of time, you will understand that this develops that confidence in you, trust in you, and then you also start looking at things in a much different manner than you usually do. So this, without any agenda, without anything, just do something with your child that time. So just play a game, or just talk about your day, talk about your child's day, and all those things without food or any other distraction, just you and your child. You'll see a huge difference in the way you can manage your day itself. So coming back to the question which Manimeghla asked, Manimeghla, making these small chores as something which you want the child to do is something which, at 16, it's very difficult for you to enforce anything on them. Any time after 13, it is more like, you treat them like an adult. So certain things which we generally ask the parents to do with their children is plan your budget for the month with your child and start managing the budget, or get them to start managing money by making them pay for the groceries, making them do the GPay or whatever is the payment for Dunzo and stuff like that. getting them to, write down the budget, whatever is the expenditure for the day, like diesel expenditure or, EMIs, everything you can. It is okay to be open about your finances with your children. Get them to write this. This is one of the most important thing which we recommend for any parent who has got a teen. Second thing is, you have a family chore chart. That will be way better than allocating a small chore to them. Have a family chore chart and allocate some work for each of you. Taking out the trash, this person does. Folding the clothes, this person does. So when you distribute and allocate the work, get your child to volunteer for that work and ask your child to take that work and say that every day you do this. We are like, probably you just tick it out and all that. For young children, we generally give gold stars, but then for older children, it still works, having a map, putting your names also in it, and then saying that, okay, I did this. Did you do this? Yes, you did this, and stuff like that. So I have a 15, soon to be turning 16-year-old as well. And we do this, and actually this works a lot. And slowly, that organizing also, I've given it up to her, because she would generally then, they start liking taking up ownership. At that age, they want more ownership. And the more ownership they take in our family, the more respect and trust they will have on us. So that's one thing which you would have to consider as well. Shakila, you say your child is 8-year-old, and tips and ways to reduce screen time. Actually, this is one of the topics which I was thinking that, we should probably have some time later, because even after pandemic, I'm amazed at the amount of screen time children have. Anywhere between 3 to 5 hours screen time for children under the age 12 is still there. And that's alarming. And that's not just, messing up with their eyes, but also it messes up with their cognitive abilities and all that. And as much as information that is available in YouTube for their studies and all that, there is so much of junk available as well. So instead of this, screen time, we generally ask parents to, again, look at their interest areas and do some activities, maybe together or even, alone time. Certain activities have to be done with an alone time in mind. So if they start doing certain stuff like that, then probably, that will actually help them reduce the screen time. More about this, I'd be glad to share with you probably offline as well, because it's a huge topic and it needs a lot more understanding of the whole thing. So this is what I wanted to share with you all, and probably understand how as parents you feel about parenting. And if you have any questions or queries, if I could answer that right now. If you have any questions, you can raise your hands. We'll unmute you. Okay. So if not, then I'll just continue about the screen time for a bit. So one of the most important aspect of screen time is also not to point out or something, but how much screen time we as adults have. So there's a lot of things which we generally, the children actually model based on us as well. So if you could take an inventory of time which you allocate in terms of screen time, just like that, even if you're like standing and doing some chore and all that, you get kind of bored, and then you probably, look at the phone and all that. And that is one of the habit which generally children catch up on. And dinner time and all that, having no screen policy at dinner time helps a lot, goes a long way in establishing the rules that children cannot have screen time while they're having food and all that. Having positive conversation around your child, starting to talk to them about their interest areas and all, actually gives them more insight on what are all the other things which they could do apart from just sitting on screen watching something which is not very beneficial for them. Also, at that point of time, say by after 7+ itself, starting to explore a lot more into their after school concepts and all, like either music or sports and all that, actually takes the time away from screen. So anything which is non-academic, you could start focusing on. That is the right age to develop any skill, a long-term skill, whether it is music or whether it is sports or whether it is art, something like that which is allied but not related to academics could be one of the ways in which you can reduce your child's screen time. So I hope that was of help, Shakila. Yes, Abhimanyu, yeah.
You touched a very good point on, how much screen time do we have? Because they are like just following us like crazy. And, fortunately, I'll just give my example over here. Me and my wife used to have a lot of screen time, while sitting around in the hall or while on the dinner table, etc. But then the time when Renuka started understanding that. Fortunately, my mom, who is 65, and she doesn't have a smartphone. She has a very small phone there, and she started telling Renuka that, Renuka, this is no mobile time. So go and take out mobiles from your dad or mom and give it to me. And now what has happened is our screen time has also reduced. And even if I am sitting there alone and looking at the mobile at that particular time, she comes and says that no mobile. And it's like, we have to inculcate that. And, as you just want to, appreciate that you brought up a good point that, okay, our screen time has also increased. I mean, like that has to be reduced a lot before we get the child to do that. That's where that's a good point.
Yeah, interestingly, this happened in one of the pediatric clinics. So I was waiting to see the pediatrician with my daughter, and there was another parent waiting, and the lady who actually calls the attender, who calls the names, is calling the parents and the child's name, and this parent is on the phone, and the child is like, asking the parent to like stop looking at the phone and come and take the child to the doctor. So this was like, the parent was on Instagram watching something and all that, and I was like thinking, ye kya hai? I mean, why can't
exactly.
So this
is no mobile time helps for us, at least at the dinner table. I mean, that's what we are following. Fortunately, to a certain extent, 80-90% we are able to do that while we are at dinner, or after 8 we have reduced our screen time like crazy. I mean, like there is no TV, there is nothing. Like
that's very important, because it kind of creates an alternate reality in your mind. Like the more you watch Instagram or even LinkedIn, you can say that, hey, I'm only on LinkedIn and I'm like, reading something or watching something on LinkedIn. It's become almost like Instagram these days. So it creates a kind of an alternate reality, and that alternate reality is not the actual nice one to have. And it is so addictive that parents, thank God TikTok is not there anymore with India. But that has actually changed the perspective of so many things for people who have more than 2 hours of social media time on a daily basis. And when children role model you as a parent, when they role model on you, then that actually affects them as well. Not many would have had parents such as yours who would say that, hey, this is a no screen time. So we should probably start developing that discipline and enforce it upon ourselves.
Exactly. So so after that we don't have any Netflix account, no Amazon Prime, no channels subscribed on the TV, so nothing like that. The TV is there, it's just there.
Yes, that's harsh.
That's little harsh,
but So Aditya, typical challenge with kids these days is not having a relative. I think before that I missed a question. How to treat evenly and prioritize things for a 13-year-old? Okay. Before that, okay, Anirudh Mohan, teenage boy's parent here, starting to spend more time with his school friends recently, and usually in their home. How much such interaction can we allow? Okay, this again, we have to probably understand the intent behind the spending time. And see, one is teenage boys, generally they're just going around playing in the playing field and all that. That's a totally different thing. But when they're going to be spending at home, what is the intent? What is it that they do is something which is extremely important, and having a continuous conversation on what they did and how they spent their time would generally help you understand, how much they are spending time with each other and all that. Well, it is important that, at this age, especially, it's very important that they have to fit in with a group. So they want to spend the time when somebody says, hey, we are all going to some ice cream shop or something like that, or we are going to hang out in so and so's house and watch a movie, if your child continuously not participates in that, then it so happens that your child would be left out as well. So that is a fear or the FOMO place from where your child will be operating. And one thing is to ensure that your children have a like-minded set of people around them. So if it is going to be like, they are all like into music, or they're all into studies, or they're all into certain science or something like that, having that kind of a cohort will actually help. And you as a parent can also facilitate that cohort in your house and see your, how these children behave, what is it that they do, because not even 10% of what they do will be told to you by your child. But being a participant in that, and also knowing the other parent who is there in that other house also actually helps. Not like, snooping into their time, but to be aware of what is happening. So that's very important. And this goes a long way. We know, how much cohort actually helps in having a better lifestyle or a better goal and all that, right? I mean, when we are all in a certain hostel or in a certain floor in a hostel, that gang is a completely different gang when compared to the other thing. So extrapolate it from there to what your children are doing. It helps when you also participate in that, facilitate certain meetups and all that, hang out with those parents also and know what they are doing. And if it is all going in the right direction, okay. Otherwise, start talking to your child about the priorities and all that, not in a way that it is threatening for them, but in a way that they understand and look at their life 10 years ahead of time and see where they want to be, and help them go ahead and do things in a better way. One thing which actually helped, and I'm not like, trying to bat for IITMAA, right from very young age, like how Abhimanyu brings his kid along, I used to bring my daughter along as well. I used to get her to see or listen to people talk, all the conversations which happen around her, all the DA awardees when they are getting felicitated, or any major event which is happening. I used to bring her along and get her to see these people. Not like I had any inner agenda about it, but it helped in getting her to get a better idea about, okay, what is it that she could do better in life. I mean, there are so many people who are high achievers. So how could she groom herself better and all that? So this actually helped her, especially when she was selecting a group in grade 11, to focus more on what she wanted out of life, and then make choices based on that, and also go to select coaching classes and go to that all by herself, and that actually helped as well. So bring your kids to IITMAA meetings more and more, and you will see a lot of difference in your life as well. So yeah, so it's not advertisement for IITMAA, but then that helped actually. How to treat evenly and prioritize things for a 13 and 8-year-old sisters and get them to know that they are treated fairly and facilitate trust and bonding between them. Yeah, sibling rivalry is one of the most important and unattended scenario whenever it comes in parenting. So one thing is, getting them to be, see, they are old enough, 13 and 8, so they're old enough. One thing is getting them to be a participant in your decision making will actually help you understand, get them to understand they are getting treated fairly. In our mind, we are treating them fairly, but in their mind, the other person is always getting the best deal out of the two. And that doesn't stop only when they are kids. It goes on till way into their adulthood and all that. So at this age, if you get them to start understanding on the priorities and all that, and many a times, one thing what happens for the younger child is whatever is the leftover from the older child's kitty actually comes to the younger child. If you could avoid that by some way and get this child also to have their own set of things, then actually it helps. Making them to do stuff together, getting them to attend certain maybe some classes together, some sports together and all that also actually helps them in facilitating trust and bond. Because one thing is when they are outside the purview of the family, then it's only the two of them. So they have to trust each other. So putting them into some kind of a tennis camp or something like that, which is completely new, completely different, would actually facilitate them to be more closer to each other than what they would usually be. This you could, you could try as well. So Aditya says typical challenge with kids these days is not having relatives around. Of course, neighbors are not a good substitute at all, I would tell that. And kids spending at home with nobody else. This is one of the most often asked thing, actually, when kids have nobody around them, maybe not even siblings sometimes, and they are alone and all that. That is when actually parents have to double up as those who have, those who are having single children, double up as their sibling as well. Create and curate activities where your child can participate with other children. Generally, play groups with children other from their school, from their class and all that. I did something. I kind of created a mom's day out for my daughter's class, entire class, just to get to know the parents well. I started doing this twice a year, but that actually created a very good bond. And then those parents actually started bringing their children together once it is without the children and all that. So this kind of a thing actually helped us get the children to hang out more, understand, get them to have more bond with the friends and all that. So that's okay, even if you don't have friends or relatives or cousins and all around. If this actually substitutes for that, now that the schools are all open, then now you have a lot of opportunity for these kind of things to happen. Yes, Abhimanyu?
Yeah, so just one more. I mean, like I face a similar situation because although I have some relatives in the city, it sometimes becomes very difficult to go and meet them, right? So me and one of my school friends started doing is, whenever we meet for tea, just two of us, we bring our kids together. So while we are having tea, they play. So that's how it is, kind of little bit. We don't do it every time because we also want to have our time, kind of. But once in a month or so, we just, whenever we meet, bring in our kids. They will play. We will have tea and come back. So that's one of the solution. I think it's working pretty well for me at least. But everyone can try based on their.
So having cohorts, if the children are all of the same age, then it actually helps.
Yeah.
And also, the school thing, because again, forming close friendship in schools with the other parents actually help in a lot more ways than one. Knowing the homeworks, knowing the holidays, so many advantages are there. So parents, I would want you all to try that out. It's been extremely beneficial for me at least. And so Balachandran is asking, making children wait in queues like we did when we were young to teach patience can be considered beneficial. Of course, but immediately they will ask for their mobile phones to see what they could do with that and all. So try replacing that with maybe storybooks or something like that. I remember when we were young, when we used to go to Tirumala and all, that was the biggest waiting time of all. Wait for like 6 hours, 8 hours to have a darshan. So I don't know how it is right now, but earlier it used to be, minimum was like at least a couple of hours at least. And those kind of times we used to carry some books. We used to make sure that we carried some books with us. If we didn't carry a book, it was our loss. And of course, there was no mobile or anything to play with at that time. So it helps when you get your children hooked onto something else, maybe Rubik's Cube or drawing book or whatever is your child's interest. Again, reading might not be for everybody. So whatever is your child's interest, you could start having certain things for them to do while they are waiting in the queue is one of the best ways in which you could also teach patience, but also get them to also have this waiting time as something which they have to do while they achieve some end goal. Well, so there is,
my question was just out of curiosity. I myself don't have any stake because my children are grown-ups now.
Okay.
I joined out of curiosity. And now, although I popped up the question. It may not be relevant at all now. Now everything is available online. Your train tickets, you are paying your telephone bill, whatever we used to stand in queues for earlier. Now it is not required at all. And so standing in queues can be considered an entirely unproductive affair. So in spite of that, should we deliberately send them, say, to pay the telephone bill, even though it can be done online? And related to this is another question.
SBI, Canara Bank, or some kind of a bank account, a PSU bank account, get them to make a deposit, or during the lunch break.
No, I mean, is it relevant at all? We are parents ourselves are not that patient.
No, that's relevant in a certain way, because one thing is, one thing is the design thinking part. Why? Because the more they interact with the other set of people. I mean, I know you're not asking for your kids, but when I started sending my daughter to collect the NEFT forms, things I could do online also, I just started doing offline, just so that filling up those things, all those things actually put a certain perspective or a thought process in them on why is it being done this way. When you do everything online with just a Google Pay, where the loop starts to where it ends and then again it circles back is not at all known to children, right? I mean, many a times I've seen children tell me that where does money come from? ATM, right? So that's about it. And now children don't even know that not much of money is known to them with GPay and all that. It actually helps them, not just that, also about electricity, about so many other things. It actually helps them understanding things better, having a better perspective, sending them to a post office or a courier office or a bank or certain things actually improves their ability to perceive things around them, gives them a certain process knowledge. At the same time, when they do online, they know the building blocks behind it. Okay, so this we are doing from here to here, but then actually it happens in this manner. It gets sorted this way, it gets processed this way, and all those things they understand better. So helps in design thinking to a certain extent as well. So yeah. So I think, Nishani, we've come to the end of the allotted time. I hope it was useful for all of you. And thank you very much for staying with me on a Saturday evening. And I hope there's a lot more interactions like this, which we can have. We'll curate a few more things like this, like probably have a WhatsApp group where, parents of young children can also be a part of, ask your queries and all that. And we'll have some, discussions around that. Yeah, Nishani, it's up to you.
Yeah, just one before we close, Nishani, just give me a second.
Yeah, sure. Take your time.
So I have received a questionnaire. Is it open to all? I mean, can I share it with my friends around? Is there a possibility of doing that so that they can also understand? And maybe I can give your connect to them so that they can reach out to you for their Yeah.
Sure, Abhimanyu. That parenting style questionnaire, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. If I don't know if how many of you filled up. I think it didn't reach many of you, I guess. But I'll probably share the link again, so you can actually do the the questionnaire. Actually, we Nishan, you can Rakesh, if you can just share the link. If we will share the link, you can understand what type of parenting style you have. And then we can, like, if anybody wants to reach out to me also, you could reach out to me. And I do this as a living, so it's okay. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, that's what I mean, like it will help some of those who are even non-IITians, but very close friends, and
sure,
looking after all those kids with different age groups. We are we are having some. Yeah,
we also have like launched an app around this. It's called Parenting, and we'll share the link with that for that also with all of you who have registered for.
Sure.
So definitely. That has all this questionnaires, behavioral questionnaire, parenting style, interest finder, everything is there in that. And when you get that done, that's again free. So when you get that done, then finally you get to set a parenting goal, and then from there you move on to have everyday nudges sent to you at a certain time, so that those nudges actually lead towards achieving your parenting goal. So that will actually be helpful. Then
Definitely.
only till about age 12. After that, we get to develop from 12 to 16 onwards.
Of course. No, thanks, Jeyappria. It was very, very informative and very good session, I would say. And I'm hoping to have many more such sessions, scheduled. Yeah,
Thanks,
definitely.
Abhimanyu. Thanks for your
a lot.
questions. Thanks for being a participant in this as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Nishani, floor is
Yes,
yours.
yes. Request Rakesh to please give the vote of thanks. Thank you.
Thanks all the participants for being alumni participants for being this part of this wonderful session. And please write to us if you have any queries actually. And Ms. Jeyappria and Mr. Abhimanyu, thank you so much for this informative session. And the session was really insightful and interactive. Hope to have more sessions like this in the future also. And thank you so much.
Thank you, JP. Thanks a lot. I think it was a great, engaging session. Lots of questions and a lot of engagement. And
Before everybody goes, next time come with your kids into any of the IITMAA events. Catch me in person.
Definitely.